there, it's Nina here with Walla Stamping. Thank you so much for stopping by my craft room today and giving me this opportunity to share this project with you. This is a project that I did with my Walla Stamping live group this past week, and I decided to make it a part of my Mother's Day card series. Even though this is not a card, it's a gift bag box, kind of a combination. I wanted to share it with you here on YouTube because I just really think it's a very cool way to give nail polishes. Believe it or not, that is what I created this package for. So I did this one with the fresh florals, and I went with some berry burst and then some berry burst ribbon. And the stamp set that I used on here is the same stamp set I'm going to use today. I wanted to feature it. It's the Petal Palette stamp set, which is in the Occasions catalog, which, by the way, will be going away starting or coming up this May 31st. So this is a 2-box set. Pretty images, florals, the birds, little foliage looking patterns here, a background pattern, and lots of awesome sentiments. Everything from thank you to best wishes, I love you, congratulations. This is a stamp set that is very versatile and can be used throughout the year for lots of different occasions. So that's the stamp set we're using. Now I've got a list of all of the supplies that I'm using to create this bag today. It was at the beginning of the video. I'm also going to have it at the end, and it'll be in the description box that's below the video, as well as in the PDF that you can print over on my blog at wallastamping.com. So there's lots of opportunity for you to get the measurements along with the list of supplies to create this project. But while I've got everything sitting out here, let me just go ahead and tell you what I'm using really quick. This is the Oh So Eclectic Designer Series paper. If I'm wrong in that name, I'll have it across the screen up here, but I think that's what that's called. It just slipped my mind. This is 12 by 9 inches. I'm going to be using Old Olive 3.5 square. Then I have a couple of pieces here. One is 4 13/16 by 3 11/16. And then the other is 4.5 by 3 3/8, and then a piece of Whisper White that's 3.5 inch square. So let's go ahead and get our scoring done to begin with. So I have my paper here in my scoreboard on the 9-inch side. So we're going to begin by scoring at 1/2 of an inch, then at 2 3/4, 6 1/4, 8.5. Oops. Then I'm going to turn my paper a 1/4 turn to the left, and then the 12 inch is across the top. Now we're going to score at 3/4 of an inch, then 4, and at 5, 7 1/4, 8 1/4, 11.5. Now let me take these two pieces, which were the oddball measurements, and I know that cutting to a 1/16 of an inch is kind of daunting at times, but believe me, it's worth taking 10 extra seconds to find that 1/16 of an inch measurement than it is to cut this where it's not going to fit inside your gift bag and you're going to struggle to make it fit. Then you're going to be frustrated because it's too big for your bag. So find that 1/16 of an inch mark. It's worth it, believe me. So we're going to score the larger one, the 4 13/16 of an inch by 3 11/16 at 3/4 of an inch, all 4 sides. Now the smaller one, 4.5 by 3 3/8, score this one at 5/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. I've got my Layering Circles Framelits dies here. I've got the next to the smallest one, and what you're going to do with this is the piece that is 4.5 by 3 3/8. You're going to line your circle die in the center of the 2 score lines on the longer side, and then you're going to just bump the edge of this thinlet or framelit up right next to the score line that's along the short side. I'm just going to put a little washi tape on that, hold that in place, and then I'll get this run through my Big Shot. So I got the first hole cut out. Now I'm going to just repeat the same thing over here on this opposite side and get this second hole cut out. Now while my big shot is out, I'm going to go ahead and get my layering squares cut out. So I'm using the third from the largest plain square and the second from the largest scallop square. So I'm going to get these run through real quick. Now go ahead at this point and get all of your score lines folded and burnished. So what I'm going to do next, I went ahead and got all of my score lines folded and burnished because this next step I was afraid with this patterned paper I wouldn't be able to see where my score lines were very well and not get this next step done properly. But what we're going to do, I've got my paper in on the 9-inch side at the top and the 1/2 inch score line is right here. The 3/4 inch score line is down at the bottom. I'm going to come over here at 2 1/4 inches. My next score line, or the first one that I did originally, is at 2 3/4. So at the 2 3/4, I'm going to score all the way down to my 4th horizontal score line. Okay, come over here. This is a 6 1/4 inch score line. That was my original. I'm coming in here at the 6 3/4 inch line, and I'm scoring down the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, all the way down to the 4th score line and just stopping right there. Those two score lines, as I was saying, was just for cutting reference. All right, so now let's do our cutting. And by the way, I will have a drawing of this part for you in the instruction sheet that will show you all of the score lines, all of the cutting lines, and where to put your adhesive. So it'll make it a lot easier for you. This is that 3/4 inch score line right here. Beside it I have a long rectangle and then a little bitty one out there. We're going to cut that off. So just cut along that, up that score line and along this one. Get rid of that. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. All right, so we got rid of those two pieces. Now I'm going to turn my paper around to the opposite side, and those short score lines that we just made a second ago, I'm going to cut down those. And remember, we went to the 4th horizontal score line and stop, so that's what I'm going to do with my cutting as well. So I've got these pieces right here. Now here is my 4th score line. I'm just going to cut straight across that and get rid of this piece. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to finish cutting these short little score lines right up to that very first score line. Now when I get up here, I've got a little square that I'm going to cut away. All right, do that same thing over there. Cut here, this one, this one, this one, and get rid of that little square. Now I want to cut some little wedges out of all of these. All right, so we're good so far. The next thing I'm going to do is I have a score line right here, but these pieces need to stay intact. And my reason for that is because I put these little 1-inch score lines because that is where the container for the nail polishes are going to go in, and I wanted my bag to have a score line to be able to fold over the edge of that. So that's my purpose for that. Now I do have a score line right here and right here, and when I was folding and burnishing, I forgot to do those. This little tab right here needs to be cut away, so I'm going to cut those away right there on this side and on this side. Now I know that there is a lot of cutting on this project, but it's so worth it. All right, let me take a look and make sure there's nothing else that I have forgotten to do. The only other thing that I think I need to do right now is just cut some little wedges out of both of these tabs right here and right here. And that should be it. All right, so we can go ahead and start putting this together. Now this part that has these little short 1/2-inch score lines all the way around, this is going to get folded in. Because this is designer series paper and it's not as heavy as a cardstock, I didn't want to have cut edges around the sides. I wanted it to be a little thicker and a little sturdier. So I'm going to fold this top piece in first, fold this one in, and fold this one in. When you get finished cutting your paper out originally from the 12 by 12 to the 9 by 12, you'll be left with a 3 by 12 inch strip. Cut you with another little 3-inch piece off of there, and we're going to glue this to the inside. That'll just cover up those edges right there. And you can use either side of your designer series paper that you want to, but I'm decided to use the inside pattern, and I'm going to line this up right next to that score line right there and get that stuck down. This is just going to give the inside of your bag or box a much more finished look. Okay, so now we can start assembling this. We want to put adhesive on these 2 tabs and these 2 tabs. Now comes the magic. You're looking at this and you're thinking, how in the world is that ever going to make what she showed me at the beginning of this video? Just take a watch. All right, these 2 little tabs right here, I'm going to fold up and stick those with adhesive right to the side, just like that and like that. Let me show you that. See what I did there? Then these 2 little small tabs that have adhesive on it are going to get folded in and stuck down right there. Let me fold this back out of my way so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Fold this back out of the way, and I can reach my hand in there better too. So essentially what we have done is the bottom of this, where those 1-inch score lines are, we've just created a little box. These will get folded to the inside, and this will come up and cover the front. So what you'll want to do right now is just use your finger and punch those 2 sides in like that. Fold those in and give them a pinch. Just make sure that this corner and this corner are matching up. Give those a little pinch. Then this will fold up and this will fold over. You may have to finagle with it just a little bit. Alright, here's the piece that we poked our holes in. All you need to do here is just cut at an angle on each corner. So I'm going to cut straight up here to where these score lines cross each other, and then do the same thing right there, and then just go all the way around. This does not need any adhesive. It's going to sit inside the next part that we're going to make. So this, I'm going to get my score lines folded, and then this piece we're going to make just like we would a box. So cut straight up each of these score lines, cut a little wedge out, okay. Now, if I've gotten all of my measurements right, and I hope that I did, this should fit right down inside there like perfect. And then this should fit right down inside here like perfect. So do you see what I'm saying? Why I've given you those 1/16 of an inch measurements, just so that that's going to fit down in there nice and neat, and there's not going to be any bulging or any places that's just going to make you mad because it doesn't fit. Let's get the outside decorations for our bag done. So I've got my Whisper White here that I've cut down with my layering squares. All right, let me scoot some of these things over here out of the way. I'm going to be using my Stampin' Right markers to color my bird. Reason being is I didn't want his beak and his feet to be the same color as the rest of his body. So I have my pumpkin pie. I'm going to take the larger tip of my marker and put that on his beak and his feet. Then take my Pacific Point and do the rest of his body. Then I'll probably go ahead and use my Perfect Plum to stamp my sentiment. And it says, I just love you, because we need to tell our mamas that we love them. So if you're using this as a Mother's Day gift, perfect sentiment for a mom. I know I love it when my kids tell me that they love me. And that is an every night occurrence. Both of my boys are at college, so every single night, unless I'm sick or so tired that I just collapse in the bed because I've done too much in a day, I always send my kids a message and say, good night, love you, or I'll send them a funny little meme or something like that that shows a puppy falling asleep or something silly, and they always respond, I love you too, good night. Very sweet. All right, all I did was stick that down. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take a glue dot and put that on this part of my bag. So I've got a glue dot right here. I'm just going to stick it right there underneath that flap. Oh, let me get my nail polish in here. There's one. And I'm using some OPI. Put that down in there, and then I'm just going to use that little glue dot to hold my bag closed while I put my ribbon in place. So I've decided on this bag to go with some shimmer ribbon, and this is the Pool Party. Going to sit my bag right on top of that, wrap that around, tie this into a bow. I popped some dimensionals on the back of my sentiment. I'm going to line that up in the center and just barely over the top of where that top flap tucks under it and just above that score line right there. So here is a new little way to package some nail polishes. Isn't that just the most awesome little thing you've ever seen? Nobody would ever expect that there's nail polish in here. So I think this is a fantastic way to give a Mother's Day gift or a birthday gift or anything you might want to use this for. So remember, at the end of this video in just a few seconds, I have got a list of all of the supplies there with the measurements of everything, as well as in the description box below, and there's a link down there to my website, as well as to the specific blog post for this project. Remember to sign up for my newsletter when you're over on my blog printing out the instruction sheet for this project, as you will receive a free gift as well as exclusive tutorials and promotions from me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my future paper crafting tutorials, and share it with your friends if you know of anyone that likes to do crafting. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate you spending time with me and letting me share this project with you, and I'll talk to you soon.